things.
Okay.
So just in case, if I'm lost, it'll take me a while to get back on my phone. Okay.
Okay, Ann, are you ready to go? Ann, are you ready too?
Yep, I think I'm ready.
All right. Well, we'll call the Board of Adjustment hearing to order and ask Ann to read the notice of the public hearing. Can you pull it up?
I'm trying. I just clicked it and it disappeared. All right.
For those that don't know, this is Ann's first Zoom meeting with the Board of Adjustment. She just started with Dunn County a month ago, so.
Patient.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll cut her a bunch of slack. How's that?
Thank you.
Yep.
Have mercy on me, please.
Yep.
All right.
There you got it.
All right. In accordance with the provisions of section 19.84 Wisconsin statutes, public notice is hereby given to all residents in the town of Stanton that the Dunn County Board of Adjustment will hold a public hearing on Monday, November 15th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. The meeting will be held by teleconference. Items of business to be discussed or acted upon at this meeting are listed below. And where am I going from here?
Where are you at?
I mean, am I reading this entire document?
I think you're on the, actually, you're probably on the wrong thing. Let me go
I think
back.
I am. I think I'm supposed to be here.
Let me go back before you get that. We should have the roll call.
Mm-hmm.
We usually just state our names so the people are on the board. So we have a record. Mark Deach, I'm here. I'm present.
Jill
Tim
Marie.
Liao? Oh,
Oops.
You got Jill Noreen is present and Tim Lanau is present.
yes. Yeah.
Go ahead, Crystal.
Crystal Halverson, present.
Pete.
Peter Score, present.
And then did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes
Yes.
from last meeting? Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
I second it.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes from the previous last month's Board of Adjustment. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. I guess now I'm supposed to ask for public comment.
We do have two individuals here for public comment, Carl Hackbarth and Candy. Carl is online.
Sam, I'm Carl Hackbarth.
I need to swear you in before you, actually public comment I don't, so you can just speak. Go ahead. But probably state your name and address, please.
Okay, my name is Carl Hackbarth. I live at E2007 800th Avenue in Knapp, 54749.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, as I said, my name is Carl Hackbarth. I am a Town of Stanton supervisor. I want to begin by thanking you for allowing me to speak at this meeting on behalf of the Stanton Township. I'd also like to note that, start by noting that we're at our town shop. That phone's going off. Excuse me 1 minute. So I'd like to start by noting that in a special note in the application on the page prior to Exhibit 3, it states that the applicant was before the Town of Stanton Board on September 20th, 2021, explaining his request. The applicant was not in attendance at that meeting, as the meeting minutes reflect, but was at the planning committee meeting prior to that. We'd like to state that the Town of Stanton Planning Commission and Town Board approved only for a wedding venue.
Go ahead. You have any more public comment?
Not at this time. I'll reserve it for later.
Okay. Who is the other one, Ann?
I believe
Other
Candy Anderson.
Okay,
Hi, Candy Anderson, Plan Commission Chair for the Town of Stanton, and I don't have any comment.
oh, okay. Okay, now, Ann, now you can read the publication. You're muted.
Just gonna share my screen here. 1 second. Okay, so in accordance with the provisions of section 19.84 Wisconsin statutes, public notice is hereby given to all residents in the town of Stanton that the Dunn County Board of Adjustment will hold a public hearing on Monday, November 15th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting will be held by teleconference. The applicant, Joshua Edlund of Dozy Dose Therapy Farm LLC, E1529 790th Avenue, Knapp, Wisconsin, 54749. Parcel identification number 1703622914281300003, has made a special exception permit request to operate an agricultural entertainment venue on property described as the northeast 1/4 described within document number 639880 and as mapped and surveyed on map of survey S-1574. Do you need me to continue, or is this the end?
Usually we would read the whole thing.
Okay. This is the only opportunity to address the board regarding this request, as such interested persons are invited to attend said hearing and be heard. Persons wishing to provide input during public comment may submit written comments via email to, or may register to speak at the public hearing by sending an email beforehand to publiccomment@co.dunn.wi.us. Instructions for those wishing to speak during the hearing may be found on the Dunn County website at https://www.codunn.wi.us/public comments. Persons wishing to listen to the open meeting should access the Dunn County YouTube channel at https://www.youtube.com/channel/UCG9PRANV-MQ-ZC95TLA3953AW/videos. A video recording of the meeting will be available on the Dunn County YouTube channel at the link above for subsequent viewing. Persons needing assistance in accessing the meeting, please call 715-231-6505. Maps and supporting documents are on file and available for inspection at the Environmental Services Department, Planning and Zoning Division, located at 3001 US Highway East, Suite 240, Menominee, Wisconsin, or on Dunn County's website at www.codunn.wi.us. Ann Wodarczyk, Planning and Zoning Administrator, Dunn County, Wisconsin.
Okay, normally, Ann, we would have, when Rob Colson was, we would have you proceed, or he would proceed with your overview. And then we would go and ask the applicant to speak to anything that you, as you went through it, may have missed or he wanted to add. And then the board will ask questions. And then I know that the township of Stanton, either chairman or spokesman for them, also wishes to be part of the public hearing at that time too, to address any concerns they may have. So if you want to proceed, is that how you want to do it, Ann?
Yep, that's how I understood it.
Okay. So you just proceed then and give probably the staff report, the application, and so on.
Okay, so I think we covered most of the information here. The request is for a special exception permit for agricultural entertainment. This is in a general agriculture zoned area. It's about 33.7 acres and it's in the town of Stanton. Most of the adjacent land use is also agriculture. So as per 13.2.8.07, Josh Edlund of Dozido's Therapy Farm LLC is seeking a special exception permit for agriculture entertainment use, specifically for a wedding venue and or related events. Such events and structures are deemed agricultural entertainment and defined as follows. Use of agricultural-based buildings, equipment, or land to hold events, performances, or activity intended to entertain others, such as festivals, dances, weddings, corporate gatherings, reunions, concerts, haunted houses, and unmotorized amusement rides. The attached map shows the location and surrounding area of the proposed venue, and I just have that a little bit farther below. I think it was important to mention the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Public Services. DSPS administers the Uniform Dwelling Code. Usually does not apply to agricultural buildings. However, if the use of an agriculture building such as a barn is a public use, then DSPS becomes involved and the appropriate UDC standards must be met. DSPS does allow a temporary use permit to be issued that exempts agriculture buildings from UDC compliance. And this can be issued at a local level by either the building inspector or the fire chief. Temporary use permits are valid for up to 180 days of use, and they must be reissued to maintain the UDC exemption status. So here is a photo of the site. I don't know how well you can see this. Is that zoomed in enough?
We can see it.
Yeah,
We can see it quite well.
Okay.
This must be a drone photo.
Yeah, yep. So this was submitted by the applicant, Josh. I do believe these are drone photos. So this is from the east looking west. And then we have one from the west looking east. And then he's included here a proposed site layout with parking. And we can bring this back up later too if we need to kind of take a closer look.
Yep.
But you can kind of see in red is going to be where there's an indoor arena and an outdoor arena in yellow. So we'll be kind of pointing those out a little bit more. These are some concept drawings submitted by the applicant. You can see some interior views here, some exterior. So to me, this, I believe this is more of like, for horse arena use here, and then kind of some tables and things like that around the outside. I wanted to include the surface water data viewer map. I think this does a good job of showing kind of where there's wetlands on the property. You can kind of see them here. It does run around along a creek. All right, so I'm going to get into the analysis here. So the comments are bold and underlined from staff. So I'll just kind of question answer. How is the proposal consistent with the county's comprehensive land use plan? The primary use is still agriculture, and that's not proposed to change. And that is consistent with the county comprehensive land use plan. The primary use of the property is for crop farming / pasture. When lands impacted by the proposal are zoned intensive agriculture or primary ag, just not applicable since this is general ag. How is the proposal in conformance with the county's comprehensive zoning ordinance and the applicable standards of the zoning district? It's zoned general ag, and section 13.2.8.07 indicates that agriculture entertainment is allowed with a special exception permit. How is the proposal in conformance with the county's shoreline ordinance? The property is not impacted by floodplain, but significant portions of the proposal are impacted by wetlands. Portions of the property are within the shoreline overlay district. That would be, within 1,000 feet of that creek. We're more concerned about anything that would be within 300 feet of the ordinary high water mark of the creek. None of the proposed structures are in that area except for the park area that he's proposing. We might want to cover that a little bit more later. As of right now, it doesn't look like he's going to be building into any of the wetlands. If he were to do so, a wetland delineation would be required.
There would be an additional permit if that was going to occur.
Right. So how is the proposal in conformance with the county sanitation ordinance? A sanitation permit will be required for facilities. Right now, the applicant indicated that porta potties would be set up, minimum of 1 for every 75 guests. It's not within floodplain, so we're not concerned with that. How is the proposal in conformance with other outside agencies? The DNR has been in contact with the property owner. DNR comments were submitted to our office indicating they did not find any major issues with the proposal other than the improved creekfront park, which would be located within their existing stream bank easement. No development would be allowed in this area. They've communicated this with the applicant. He is allowed to mow in the area, but that's it. The measures which have been or will be taken to ensure the proposal will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of adjacent property owners and or to other property owners in the immediate vicinity. Distances to adjacent neighbors and topography are noted by the applicant, and measures like amplified music, things like that will be proposed to end by 11 p.m. The measures which have been or will be taken to provide sanitation, domestic water, stormwater control, drainage, or other necessary facilities to serve the proposal. Sanitation does not currently exist on the site. I mean, the structure hasn't been built yet, but for now, until that's done, they propose 1 temporary facility for every 75 guests. I mean, you can stop me if you feel like I'm getting too wordy here.
No, you just keep going. If somebody has a question for you, they will interfere.
Sounds good. And we can always kind of go into questions after I get through this too.
Yep.
Depending on however you want to do it, just let me know.
Yep.
I can certainly take a break. So the measures which have been or will be taken to provide sufficient off-street parking and loading space to serve the proposal. The applicant proposes 3 parking.
Sorry, Ian, can I have you slow down? It's pretty wordy, and so I'm having a hard time kind of keeping up, making the record.
Okay.
Thanks.
Would everyone just mind if I just took a breath here? I'm a little bit nervous.
No, that's fine. If you want, I can continue for you.
No, I think I can do it. I just feel like we have a lot to cover, and
Yep,
I'm trying to go through, so I'm sorry, Andrea.
No, don't feel rushed, Dan. Just take your time and go through it.
Take your time.
And we have all night. Sometimes we've been here pretty long.
Yep. All right. So this next point, we're still covering the parking here. So the applicant proposes 3 parking areas. The main parking area will be south of the indoor riding arena. The other 2 parking areas would be for trailer parking and overflow parking spaces.
Could you, maybe, I don't know if that'd be difficult or not, but as you address that, could you pull up the proposed site layout and parking?
Sure, 1 second.
It's figure 3 on my, what I printed out.
All right. I think this one shows it pretty well.
Yeah, there, that's what I'm looking at.
So the first
There we
parking lot is this little parking lot underneath the indoor arena to the south there. You can see it's got kind of a driving path here. There's 26 trailer spots here, 58 overflow trailer spots further to the east.
When you're talking trailer spots or parking spots?
So a lot of this, I think you might have to ask the applicant, but I can do my best.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
trailer spots here and overflow trailer spots here. That's all I really know specifically there. So maybe we'll have to ask Josh that.
Yeah, let me, can you, I'm gonna try to,
Josh, as for you to speak, I don't mind having you speak now, but I need to swear you in, and then you can speak as we go through. So please state your name and address, please.
Joshua Joseph Edlund, E 1475, 790th Avenue, Knapp, Wisconsin, 54749.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Did you hear me?
I did, can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I need to swear you in before you can speak. Are you there?
He froze up.
Mark, I heard him say yes.
Okay.
Yes, I just stopped my video, so hopefully my connection's a little better.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to, do you want to address the parking for a wedding venue? I'm a little surprised that you want trailer spots.
No, that wouldn't apply. Those are not really applicable. That's basically a grass field anyway. And those would be for horse trailers and things like that. So
Okay, Ann, I guess go ahead.
I say
Okay.
truck and trailer spaces, that land is remaining a field. It's a hay field. And those, they can just park there. It's only for, when they come, it would be for a day and they leave. So that's not getting gravelled or improved or anything. That's simply a hay field.
Okay, I'm gonna go back up, but
Yep.
feel free to interrupt me if we need to.
Yep.
All right, so the applicant has indicated that the property to the east will be used for overflow parking that we were just kind of showing there. This property is currently owned by the Cynthia A. Manwarren Living Trust. And I understand that Mr. Edlund is in the process of purchasing this property.
That deal will be closed mid-December.
Okay. So the measures which have been or will be taken to minimize or eliminate traffic congestion, traffic hazards, or other traffic-related issues associated with the proposal. So in previous or similar requests, the board has asked for a parking plan with temporary signage to help visitors find the parking areas, but also to help them find their way out when exiting the property. Measures to
We've also done that for emergency vehicles to access in and out. So go ahead.
All right, so measures to prevent or control offensive odor, fumes, dust, noise, or vibration. So this doesn't create a nuisance to the property owners in the vicinity. Noise is a concern here. The applicant indicates that amplified music will end by 11 p.m. So lighting, I have this written wrong, actually. I think Josh did write in his application that they plan to have the lighting face downward, but he also told me that too. Erosion control measures are recommended during the construction of the property, and just any improvements are done. It's really close to the north branch of Wilson Creek and some mapped wetlands. If the applicant were to improve the parking areas, then additional erosion control measures will be necessary. I think right now only one of the parking lots is actually going to have gravel, and that's that small one that's to the south. The other two will just remain farm field, if I understand that correctly. The days and hours of operation, I believe Josh would like it to be year round and a maximum of 20 weddings per year. They didn't limit the days of the week for events, but they indicated that the event would go no earlier than 8 a.m. and outside amplified music and noise would end by 11. I did not have any indication as to when events will end. Other information, the applicant has indicated that no alcohol will be sold on site and food will be catered. Bars, taverns, and restaurants are not a permitted use under the general agriculture zoning. Considerations, concerns. So primary use, the agricultural entertainment is the use of agriculture-based buildings, equipment, or land for an event, performance, or activity to entertain others, such as weddings. So the current primary use of the property is agricultural, specifically crop production, pasture. A structure built on the property would need to follow that. It would still be primary agricultural related use, and they would need to keep that going to maintain that designation. Outside agencies and jurisdictions, we may want to consider a condition where the applicant shall require / maintain all required permits from outside agencies. Noise is a concern, specifically outdoor noise, and how it would affect the residential areas nearby. So let's just summarize this a little bit.
Usually you go down, is it 55 decibels? Is that,
Yeah, I think that's what
or 70?
Here we're saying. Levels of 55 decibels outdoors and 45 decibels indoors are identified as preventing activity, interference, and annoyance. So I think that's the typical recommendation. Also, they'd want to control the use of a loudspeaker or sound amplifier to restrict any sound that's projected outside of any building or outdoors. This is kind of just covering some of the more details of the decibel levels. Lighting, the county does not have lighting standards. However, the BOA may impose reasonable lighting standards. Consider requiring light fixtures and accent lighting to be shielded and aimed downward. Consider requiring the shield to mask the direct horizontal surface of the light source. And then consider requiring limits on spotlighting on the landscape and foliage to, like, for example, like 2,220 lumens or 150 watts. Another consideration would be the length of each event, hours and days. Also another consideration of overnight stay, camping, parking of RVs, trailers. Another consideration would be limiting the size of the event. They've indicated that they would have an expectation of up to 300 guests. I know in the past, similar venues were limited to 225 guests. It's also suggested to have an event plan, specifically, you know, times, dates, location, number of guests, emergency contact information, you know, more what's going on, have a parking plan, signage, sanitation, water, health for food prep or handling of storage. We'd be concerned about alcoholic beverages, licensing, whether they're free or for sale. Again, sale of alcohol or operation of a bar is not allowed under general ag zoning. There's some concern with public safety, emergency vehicle ingress, egress. Make sure the driving aisles are clear. And then I think we should consider having an event plan filed annually with the planning and zoning administrator, town clerk, fire department, emergency medical service, and Dunn County Sheriff's Department. And that should be 30 days prior to the start of the year for when they want to begin doing the agricultural entertainment activities. They could also consider requiring a copy of the temporary use permit to be submitted on an annual basis, at least 30 days prior to the first event of any given season. Just a special note that I think I said before that he did appear before the Town of Stanton Board, but I've been corrected. However, the board did pass a motion indicating the town approved the application for the permit for a wedding venue only, and that he may proceed. Recommendation. So in review of the applicant's submittal packet, the county's comprehensive zoning ordinance, the town opinion, and the county's comprehensive land use plan, most of staff concerns are addressed. Given that there are unmet staff concerns beyond authority of our Planning and Land Use Control Division, staff recommends the Board of Adjustment approve the request and consider attaching conditions to address the above concerns. Now, I did include the application packet. I can show that here. And then I also have, Josh submitted some additional information. I'm just scrolling down to that here. Just kind of showing what his plan is and kind of what he's, you know, envisioning here a little bit more. Here's a better site view, the parking lot detail. So if there's any questions, I can kind of bring some of these up too as Josh kind of speaks a little bit here. So I think that concludes the staff report.
Josh, I guess I'm a little bit wondering here. The town board approved for a wedding venue, and it appears like what from the buildings is such that it's beyond that. So I don't know. Does the board have any questions for Josh or for Ann at this time?
Mark, I have a question. Tim Lenow.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Mark, I wanted to ask you regarding, I'm seeing the driveways marked on the farm field for the parking areas and overflow parking areas. But I'm wondering about the entrance to the facility itself. Is that concrete blacktop or is that crushed stone going to, excuse me?
There's gravel from the road down to that parking lot.
Down to that parking lot. Is there any gravel to the right in towards that?
It goes down the hill until it meets the grassy part of the field. So it's not very.
Looks like 75 feet or so.
where you see it make a Y, it only extends maybe another, I would say 100 feet.
Okay. I'm just concerned regarding access to emergency vehicles. You know, the fields get pretty muddy sometimes, and you get a lot of traffic, doesn't get any better.
Yeah, so for the purpose of this discussion, I mean, we are talking about the wedding venue.
I just want to stop and say I can't hear Josh.
So
And if that's the case with everybody, I don't know if it might help, Josh, if you, I'd love to keep looking at you, but maybe turn off your camera and see if that could,
Maybe use the phone. He is on the phone. Well, I
tried
think
that, and the phone quit working on me, so I did this now. Can you
this
hear me
sounds a
better
little
now?
better, Josh. Yeah. Why don't you
Yeah.
try proceeding that way?
So for the purpose of this discussion, the trailer spots aren't really relevant. The driveway though was built substantial enough that a large horse and trailer can make those corners and negotiate that. So as far as getting emergency vehicles in and out, they will not have a problem. I mean, you could bring a 53-foot semi in there if you wanted to. So that access will be not a problem.
Okay.
from what I understand, there's no buildings here at all right now, right?
Oh, well, yeah, there's a small little 24 by 24 shed down there, but that's it. It's just
Okay,
sitting.
so that doesn't show on our diagram.
Well, and that's just sitting there right now as kind of a hay storage shed. It'll probably be moved. I think you can see it in some of the picture. Yeah, right there.
Okay,
Would you keep that picture up for?
yeah, keep that one up. That's,
It's
that's,
You can see the
That-
driveway there.
and you can see the
Yeah.
road.
Okay, I can see the curve.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
Mark?
yeah,
When I was reading the application, now the town of Stanton said is a wedding venue. And what I was reading was for horse shows and things like that. And it looks like it'd be perfect for horse shows, the building that he's thinking of. So where are we at with this?
I'd be happy to clarify. So the original intent was to combine, to have this building be for horse shows and weddings. And it turns out that the land uses are different for those two different events. So the purpose of this application was strictly for the wedding side of it. The other piece will be addressed separately. But since that's an ag entertainment land use, that's why we've isolated out just the weddings for this application.
Okay,
Can you speak, Josh, to what's your timing of your goal of opening up this venue for horse shows?
I don't know. My goal is last fall. So
hear ya.
whenever I can do it, I guess we have to go through the process and we're familiar with that as we go, but I don't know how long it's going to take. I'll be honest. Hoping that this stuff on and have something going next year, next spring.
And Josh, would it be right to say that if you don't get that such permission, that you would not build that building as it is drawn?
I don't know. Probably not. I may still, a use could be a boarding facility, which is certainly there. I don't know. I'd have to redo my plans and see what makes sense then. We'd have a nice riding arena for our kids.
is there, Josh, is there a location here for the building that you're talking about? I mean, for our purposes, we are, the diagram is kind of over what we're addressing. The proposed
yes.
diagram is over what we're addressing. We are addressing specifically for a
Things.
wedding venue. And the current site photo that's up on our screens now, is where is that wedding venue going to be placed?
Temporary shelter or tent is, that would be the southwest corner of the
Okay.
building. Going north from there and east, that whole pad then would be that building.
Oh,
Okay.
Yep.
So, okay. So that's the area you're considering for the wedding venue. And the parking is obvious. I can point to it on my screen, but it doesn't do any good. But the parking is right as you take that left turn off of that Y, if you want to, yeah, right there. And yeah, that area there is, and how many spaces are there?
It's, if you scroll up just a little bit, I think there were 70, if I remember right.
Is that's the diagram there? Okay.
okay.
Yep. Is that, what kind of surface is on that?
Gravel.
That's gravel, okay.
Can I introduce myself? I'm Rory O'Sullivan. I'm Mr. Edlin's attorney. Can you all hear me okay?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
I
gotta
just wanna
be,
make clear-
you can't speak unless you're sworn in. So if you would like to speak, state your name and address, please.
Rory O'Sullivan, 129 Bayberry Court, Hudson, Wisconsin, 54016.
You solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, proceed.
Okay, thank you. So just, can we go down to the photo that's one down? I just, I just want to clarify something, because somebody said that a statement like, if you're going to build a wedding venue, and certainly the way I read the ordinance is, the way the ordinance reads, it says, whether you can do agricultural entertainment in an agricultural building. So the way I interpret that is, Mr. Edlin's asking permission to use an agricultural building for weddings. He's not asking to build a wedding venue, like it's not its own thing. He's asking to build an agricultural building, which is, as he mentioned, is like this riding arena. That's where horses would be. That's an agricultural building. He's asking for an additional permission to use it for agricultural entertainment, to use it for weddings. But it's not building a wedding venue. It's building an agricultural building and then asking permission to use it for agricultural entertainment under the ordinance.
I think that interpretation is correct. That's one of the things that we want to make sure we're understanding, is that this building, the primary use will need to be related to agriculture. And I think that was kind of the intent with it being a horse barn, horse arena. If I'm remembering our conversation correctly.
Exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, Josh and I looked it up. We think the right term is riding hall. That's what we decided to go with.
Okay.
I guess the question I have then is that the town board specifically approved a wedding venue. Typically, these are where, in the past, the wedding venue has been use of an established building that's already there, that's converted to a wedding venue. So it's obviously an agricultural barn or whatever that's been converted to and that's what I was wondering. I don't think that there'd be an issue of building something that would have another use if it was going to be used for that other use. It may require, I don't know, but it may require other considerations.
It will, Mark. This is Josh. And, the way that the order in which we did these things, these applications, I guess maybe had it been done in a different order. Regardless, you've seen the building we're doing. We're giving some context by saying that, yes, it's an equine riding hall for horses, but what we're specifically asking here is that the use of that property be allowed to be used for weddings. Again, the next step will be to go about the permitted use of that for a riding hall. and that's for a separate discussion. When we look through the ordinance, yes, there were different land uses, so they're different application processes.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that's the case because the town board, I just know that from the minutes of the town board, they specifically were dealing with the wedding venue.
Yeah, and that,
Can I,
and go ahead.
go
Larry.
ahead. I'll just address that because if we go back up, and you have to scroll probably quite far up to the top, but the ordinance says that agricultural entertainment is more than just like wedding. So it says things like, oh, what was it? You'll remember like it's haunted houses and motorized amusement rides and like concerts. That's the kind of language that's used in the ordinance. And that's what I think the town board was trying to address, that they were saying it's wedding venues. It's not haunted houses or mechanized amusement rides, but we're not asking for that. So that's why we're comfortable with just saying it is only wedding venues.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to make sure I clarified the fact that the town board obviously approved for a wedding venue. If it would have been a larger thing than that, amusement rides or who knows what, the town board may not have agreed to support it. That's what I'm saying. Doesn't mean that in the future it can't be used for another use. It just means that the town at this time obviously supports the wedding venue. And that and in the background, I think actually she has it up here now, is seeking a special exception used specifically for a wedding venue. And then it says, and our other related events. I think, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that the reason that there was public comment from the town board saying that it was specifically for a wedding venue is that probably that sentence in the background. So as we go forward, just so the Board of Adjustment understands that it certainly has other uses that it can be used for. The town board specifically has approved a wedding venue, and I think if I reading between the lines, the town obviously perhaps is a little concerned. They don't want it to get I don't know what I would say there, beyond what they understand it will be. As we go through this, I want to, as long as we're having discussion on this, like this, I do know the town of Stanton would like to be part and be sworn in as part of the public hearing aspect of this at this time. Is the town of Stanton still available? Crystal, do you have something?
Yeah, I wonder if just before we hear from others, I'd just like to ask a process question. I'm not certain that this body has ever looked at one of these special exceptions before a building is built. I'm pretty sure for all of the special exceptions for whatever it's called, farm tourism, whatever this is called. We just said it, but I can't remember. We have always had existing agricultural structures, and it allows us to point to where we'd like to see some lighting and hear from the DOT because of established roadways and whatnot. And I'm just wondering if we make an approval tonight based on a drawing, and then the drawing changes, which it likely might, then is it dead in the water, or how does it change? I get Josh's situation. It's sort of a chicken and the egg. What do you do first, or what you get permission to do first? but I'm concerned about not having enough in front of me to be able to figure out if this new use can be used. If it is truly the primary use for building the building, then I feel like the building is, well, obviously it's complicated because the building has another important use that may or may not ever happen.
So
I
I don't want to
think,
speak for Josh. I think I'll put it with
Oh, I
Chris.
want to hear from Mark. Excuse me, Rory.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
no, you're absolutely right, Crystal. This is the first one we've had like this. There are no buildings there at present. The issue that I have question for is generally the number of people that we approve that can be at the site generally is dependent upon the size of the building, the fire exec for fire and safety and so on and so forth, which is information that we get when we approve something from the fire inspectors and our fire departments and such. I think, and I don't know, and
I have
Yeah.
some input, I guess.
yes,
It's possible that one of the conditions that you could put on this is the capacity could be determined by the fire chief rather than
Yes.
us at this point. Also, just to keep in mind, we're approving a use, not necessarily the structure. You know, he's trying to give us a good idea of what this structure is going to look like. We want it to be agriculturally based. It needs to be agriculturally based. But it, again, like I think Crystal said, it is kind of a chicken before the egg. Like, where do we kind of draw that? But it is very specific that it's a use, not necessarily the structure itself. And I know this is
I think,
unique.
I think if this goes forward and it's approved, Crystal, I think one of the conditions would be that the zoning office and the town board would have to review the structure, the zoning office specifically, for, I don't know about the town board, but they may want to, but it would have to be reviewed by the zoning so that the zoning office could so we could have it down in writing how many people safely can be there. I think that's what I'm thinking, isn't it? Is that, Tim, do you agree with that?
Yes.
And and until it's done, because one of the things that we look at is the safety and the access for emergency vehicles in case of something that comes up. And we obviously have a parking lot that's there. We have a proposed building to be built. So I think from that aspect, we have something to go on. It's really up to the board to decide how to proceed. You're right that normally there's something there when we do this. But obviously if it's not approved or isn't going to go forward, then the guy doesn't want to build the building. So I think, and the request is certainly within the context of our zoning ordinance. You know, the request it's been down through the town, he's went through the town board for a wedding venue. And as far as the use, you can build any kind of building as long as it has some agricultural aspect to it, and it would qualify for a wedding venue, or as long as it's egg use. I would assume that horses are an egg use also. So it's a possibility for that. And whether it's private or whatever, I mean, a wedding barn that we've approved in the past obviously was used privately to probably milk cows before it was done before that. So,
Yep.
so I think the structure does matter, as Ann said, it has to be in accordance with some type of agricultural use. And so I think there's several things that we need to look at. Irregardless of the building, I think because the building doesn't exist, I think we put a condition on it. It says that it needs to meet all of the I forget the name of it, but Ann has it. It's going to have. The building's going to have, when it's constructed, or maybe even if in its conception, Josh may want to take that down to the zoning office just for as far as get the size and such. So I don't know that the fire inspector is going to have anything to say about it till it's built. Perhaps they do.
This is Josh. I have talked to the fire department. And they basically said that with that size of building, if he calculated a capacity, it would be very high, 500 or more, so not that we don't need to have 500 as our capacity, and we won't, but so I did talk to him, and he said, yeah, that's not going to be an issue. And regarding, the way this is built, one of the, if I may, the advantages of this is I'll be building this under a building code that's obviously much more stringent than a building built in 1800. It'll be built to current building codes for public use. It'll be a very robust facility and very safe, obviously. So,
yeah. Well, I'm not concerned that it won't be, but we want to make sure that we make that, I guess, for the board's consideration, we just want to make sure that we cross all the T's and dot the I's and make sure that it's done. I'm going to say correctly, that everything's done in accordance and all our ducks are in a row, and so you have a clear way to proceed when we get done, and know what the zoning office is interested in, and what the zoning office needs to have. And so I don't know, Crystal, go ahead.
I'm sorry, one more follow-up is, can you remind me, when we approve something, they have 1 year to use it or complete it, or tell me about the 1 year rule?
That's true. The permit, the permit is valid for 1 year.
Does that mean that,
If it isn't built in that year, they have to go through this process again.
but we're not approving the building. So the permit would mean that he'd have to have a wedding inside of that building within 1 year? You get me? Because he's not gonna have this thing done and bushes pretty and flowers everywhere and someone kissing within 1 year, I bet.
Tim, do you have an opinion on that?
I doubt if you're going to be able to build something of that size and magnitude. But I think it's important here that we're creating a bit of a standard prior, Crystal said before, chicken and egg scenario. Because of the fact that we're setting a standard prior to construction rather than post-construction, I think it's going to create a bit of a problem for us to actually say, here's what we're going to approve. Oh, by the way, let us know when you're finished.
I agree. It's hard to approve for the use of a building that does not yet exist. And I love the drawings, but they're just site conceptual drawings. They're not construction ready drawings yet.
And I can address some of these concerns, because the ordinance doesn't just say building. It says land or buildings or equipment. And to write off what Anne was saying earlier, you're not being asked to approve a building. And I understand that that's not something you've ever been asked to approve before. And that's why I think you're finding yourselves in this situation where suddenly you're like members of the, UDC board building code or the zoning committee, and you don't want to be in that position, because all that's being asked is that if you go back up to what the ordinance actually says, it says that land, buildings, or equipment. And so ultimately, I would say don't worry about the building too much. So you could simply say, look, we're approving the land for the use of weddings. The land already exists. We expect there's going to be a building there. In the absence of a building, you're not going to have very many weddings, but at least that way you don't need to, we don't today need to agree on the specifications for the building, because that is a moving target, as I think we all recognize. But fundamentally, it is, you know, maybe chicken and an egg, but it's not that the building is being built for weddings. It's that it's not feasible, or it's like it's going to be modified. If you're going to have weddings, then it's going to be different, because you're going to probably have some space for it, or it's going to be built to address that sort of ancillary use that it would have. But I do think we're kind of losing sight of the wood for the trees here, that you're really just talking about use of land, and there will be buildings, inevitably there will be, but there aren't yet. But that shouldn't, I think, prevent anything from happening tonight.
Ann, do you have any comment?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same train of thought there. I can see why we'd want to kind of get this building wrapped up a little bit and have some conditions for that. But again, it is, I mean, he has had weddings out here previously, and I'm just scrolling down to the photos with a tent. And even just with that, just on the land, we would still need this permit to be approved to do that if he was going to start having this as a frequent spot for weddings. I mean, this was just his personal wedding, so we didn't need a permit for that. But, you know, this is,
Okay, there you go.
you know, this is what we're looking at right now. So, I mean, if we want to include that with conditions that, you know, you're not approving the building. I don't know how to word that.
No, I understand. I understand what's being said, that we're approving it, we're approving the land for a wedding venue use. And that I don't have a problem with. We are normally when we approve these things, because we obviously know where the structure is going to be placed or something of that nature. We're more in line with, so we would deal with the noise. We would deal with the lighting. We would deal with the access, primarily emergency vehicles, to ensure that, because it's apparently, as far as I've been on, that's one of the things that we've always looked at, to make sure that everything, there was not a congested area, so an ambulance or something, so there was a plan in place so that emergency vehicles could access the property at any time, whether it was being used or unused. And so I think, and that came into play with the number of participants that could be in attendance, and so we're used to dealing with a bigger sphere, and I think if we approve the land for a wedding use, I think we still need to address the noise and those things. I think that we need to address all those things. And I think because this is under our zoning administrator, the things that we address when it is built and when it is before it's to be used, our zoning office will have to go out there and just walk the site and make sure that everything, all the ducks are in a row. So, and I don't know. I don't know if I should say more than that, or I guess I'm not thinking any more than that. Tim, you've been on quite a while. What do you think?
Well, could we hear from the town of Stanton if they're still available?
I think they're still here. Are they? Are they still here? Krista?
We're still here.
Okay.
If I may ask you one thing.
Oh, wait, before I gotta swear him, or did I didn't swear him in yet, so
Oh, okay.
I was going to swear him in when he had public comment, and I don't need to do that until unless he speaks at the public hearing, so. Please state your name and address, please.
Carl Hackbarth, E2007 800th Avenue, Knapp, Wisconsin, 54749.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Proceed.
Okay, Mr. Hackbarth, I was wondering, you approved for strictly a wedding venue.
That is
Okay.
correct.
That is correct, okay. And this horse barn facility, or this horse showing facility, was it your intention that this facility would be the wedding facility?
It was not. We were given a couple proposals, but we were never given the final draft of the concept building that was presented in this application.
Okay, so you've never really, so just so I'm clear, you've never really seen these drawings on that horse barn before?
The latest concept one drawings that are in there were not given to the township. No, we saw them in the application, but not prior to that.
Carl, what
Okay.
drawings were different? There were a couple additional the exterior renderings were the only ones that were added.
You had the one that you presented to the town board initially, Josh, and the subsequent drawing that included the office area, the fitness center,
Yeah.
the game room.
Those have been removed.
Question
Right.
is, what drawings in this presentation have you never seen before? Not other drawings that you have seen that aren't here today. What's
Correct.
of the drawings here today, what have you never seen before?
I want to make sure that council is not asking questions of people who are here to give testimony. That would be Mark's job.
Well, Carl, I think
As I stated, as a board, we did not see these concept drawings prior to reviewing them in the application.
Oh, before the application, before the Board of Adjustments you're speaking of.
Correct.
Okay. I think that and if I'm wrong, I think, I mean, you can't just build a building for a wedding venue on an agricultural property. So
That's how I'm
can you,
interpreting it.
can you clarify, so if this concept drawing for a arena,
Mhm.
obviously an arena could be a very, it could be used very easily for a wedding venue. I guess clarify for me, when you're looking at a wedding venue and we don't have an existing building, this here structure, this concept at least was proposed, been proposed to us as the Board of Adjustment of a arena, would meet the requirement under the statute, right?
Yeah, so the way I see it, this riding hall use with the horses, horse stalls, things like that, that is still an agriculture related use. If this were just built as a wedding venue and there was no horse barn, nothing like that, it would not fit. That would be more of a commercial endeavor.
And
This,
it wouldn't fit, it wouldn't be allowed under the general ag zoning.
correct.
So it has to be something of this nature.
Mhm. And that's why, I think, they're including all of these drawings. And I do think some concern kind of was brought up too. The original proposed plan did include a lot more other uses. I think Carl kind of alluded to some of those, a game room, some other things like that. I talked that over with Josh and, kind of we concluded that that would be more of a commercial endeavor, not agricultural, and that's why they removed those from the plans.
Does the board have any questions as we've gotten this far?
Well, my original question asked to go to Mr. Hackbarth. Would seeing these drawings, would the town board give permission for this venue as a wedding venue?
So one question about this building I would like to ask before answering that would be,
Okay.
would this be a commercially built building on agricultural property?
Because it's a wedding barn, it has to meet. And you had that in your presentation, so there would be more restrictions than just if you were going to build a pole shed out here.
Well, if I could chime in.
Josh, you want to? Because I mean, it has to be obviously if it doesn't exist now, it's going to have to meet different building inspection uniform dwelling code than say original private barn.
So that was my comment earlier, Carl, not that I'm building a commercial building, but that I am building an agriculture building to the commercial building code. So it will be built not only to ag standards, but higher. Basically it's more reinforced. It costs a little more to build. It's still the shape and size and use of the building is the same. It's an agricultural use of that building. It's just built to a better code to protect people's safety.
Yeah, like the commercial building code has to do with building standards, like how far apart things are supposed to be and how much weight they can bear and what materials they're made of. It doesn't make a building a commercial building to build it under the commercial building code. It just means it's in better quality. But I think we're losing sight of the fact that if we look at this concept drawing, like 80% of this building, 60% of this building is dirt and sand in the middle of the building. That's where horses go and they're walking around, they're defecating on the ground. And this is an agricultural building. And I don't know that Mr. Hackbarth can frankly say what the town board would have done, because he's asking questions saying, oh, well, I need this question answered. But I mean, he doesn't know. He hasn't spoken with the town board. And so he approved the previous building, the one that was more, that had the games room and had the office. This one doesn't have any of those things. So assumedly, this is perfectly acceptable.
One more quick comment on that. And Carl, the only changes to this building I changed because they were brought up as concerns, such as the game room and an office. I said, okay, those, we don't need those in this building. They were removed. Other than that, the size, shape, everything about this building is identical to what you've seen, but I addressed some of those concerns by removing those uses of those rooms. That's the only difference that you hadn't seen.
Josh, this is Crystal. If you're granted this exception, do you anticipate that you would hold any weddings on your property before the building is built? And then when do you anticipate that the building would be built?
Would I hold any weddings before the building is built?
Yeah, kind of like your beautiful wedding. Would you, if granted the exception, would you anticipate that you would have any weddings in 2022 or before then? I'm sorry.
I don't know. I mean, probably not. if I did, it would be for one of our kids is getting married.
Okay.
And we
And
may allow
then-
them to, but we're not going to be charging them, of course. So
Yeah, right. That's just a family affair, right? And then when do you anticipate that you think a building would be built? Done. Shut up,
again,
Jack.
that's angry. I think in the spring, if I were to tell my contractor tomorrow to place the order, he said the soonest he would be able to build is mid-spring. But I do have additional, I have to go through building permits. I have to get some other stuff. I want to do all of those things before, putting a bunch of money out, non-refundable money out front as a down payment. That's why I'm here. That's why, we talk chicken and the egg, but I really wanted to do all the right things, to talk to the town, to talk to the county, the DNR, all these agencies, and make sure before I invest a whole bunch of money and have, a big toy in the adjacent property for my kids to play in. I want to make sure that I can do something with it. And I want to make sure that the things that I want to do with it are okay.
Mhm.
So again, that's why we're here. I'm trying to get each of these land uses, each of these things, piecemeal, because they are different land uses. So we're really here just to talk about, with this proposed idea of having weddings, can we do that? I'm perfectly fine with some of the things you said, putting these different rules on it, such as lighting and sound and those things. I don't have any problem with any of that. So, I guess if we can move forward with the wedding piece of it, address the horse and ag piece of it at that time, that's a separate application. I guess that's what I'm looking for here today. It kind of seems like we're spinning our wheels a little bit, but this very specifically, and it's been said a few times, this is for the wedding, the ability to host weddings on this land.
And
That's
so,
it.
yeah, and when we grant that exception, it's for 1 year. And so I'm just trying to determine if you think you'd be having a wedding that you would receive money for in a building before next October. If
Be in a building.
I'm trying to build a building right now too, and I know that I-beam steel is out 18 months, and that there's a lot of delays right now. And so I'm trying to determine whether or not you would have a wedding for money before the building is built, or if
That's
you think the
something-
building would be built within the next 12 months.
Crystal, if I could interject here, I'm not sure that we need to be concerned about that,
Okay.
and this is the reason why. If a building isn't used within the year, they can renew the application.
Okay.
They could come back to renew or for an extension.
Okay.
So, that's basically that 1 year deal.
Mhm.
This special exception is good for 1 year. If nothing is done, it expires in 1 year. And if they want to still do something, then it goes back and it usually goes quite quickly because the board has already hashed out everything.
I gotcha. Thanks, Mark.
So, so I don't think we need to be concerned about if there's going to be a building built here. We're basically here to make sure that that it meets our zoning code. And on something like this, like I said, it's normally been the purview that's expected of us as far as to address the noise. Usually the attendance, the safety issues, and not necessarily that we adjust it directly, but we have in the conditions that that the zoning office gets a written thing from a fire chief or whatever that has been inspected, that the protocols are in place. And the fire chief, usually the fire inspector generally puts a capacity limit on a building or on an area. And that's usually what we've always went with. Basically, we aren't the experts. We go with what the experts say. And so what we're going to want to look at, and I think we need to go forward a little bit here. from what I understand,
Sorry to interrupt. I actually have another appointment. I need to go. If you guys are going to move into conditions, I'm just going to leave. If that's okay with everybody.
no, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Could we see if Carl or Candy had anything more they wanted to add?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. First, I'm not sure if it was you, Mark, or Tim that asked the question on what the township thought of the building. As long as the building's used for ag, the township's okay with it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
like I had stated earlier, our planning committee and our town board approved a wedding venue only. Part of the basis was we had had the previous request for a wedding venue in our township. Differences being there was a building in place and it is being used exclusively for a wedding
Right.
venue. So.
Yeah, and I think, I think Josh, I know in your application here, you said for 20 weddings or 20 events a year or something like that. And in the past, I don't think that we've had any limitation on that.
No, I know on the application, Tim Stoffer's, it was much higher than that. I think he said like 3 or 4 a week or something like that. So,
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is typically, I don't think we have put a limit on how many weddings can be there. Normally, I think we've been more interested in having the schedule, I guess, in the zoning office. And the only reason that we ask for that, to have a schedule for events, probably even to the town board or to the zoning office is so if there's a complaint or somebody has an issue, we can look at the schedule and say, yeah, this year, we have this listed here, and then the zoning office can address a specific complaint and go back to this hearing and see what the restrictions were, whether it was noise, whether it's a noise complaint or something of that nature. So basically, that's why that event calendar is requested, or schedule is requested. And so as we go forward, let's go through your report. Let's go through the noise.
Hey, Mark, I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure that Carl and Candy both had a chance to speak.
Okay, does Candy wish to speak?
Hello, this is Candy Anderson.
Yeah, if you want to speak, Candy, then I'll swear you in.
Sure.
Please state your name and address, please.
Candy Anderson, E2079 930th Avenue, Boyceville, Wisconsin.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Proceed if you have comments.
Thank you. Just a couple of additional concerns that the town board had, and I'm just kind of helping Carl out here. The building is, as long as it is used for ag, the town does support that. One of the things that the town board had discussed that they made the plan commission aware of was parking issues on the town road there, that there were several complaints with regards to vehicles and trailers being parked on the road. So there's a concern for emergency services to be able to get through on the road. And along with the increased traffic and weight limits on the road, was a concern before the board. The board also had discussed some concern about noise. And I see that Ann did a good job of discussing that in her staff report. And we're hopeful that the BOA can have a good discussion about making sure that noise is abated as best as can be for the other residents in the neighborhood.
There's kind of a standard that we've always went with on noise. So, and whatever that standard is, I think it's written in this here proposal, or at least in the staff report or staff comments. We haven't had any complaints with that amount, if you want to say, of noise. The parking is, that's a good thing to bring up. We have addressed parking in the past. So and that's one reason that we have the town board address this, just in case we overlook something. If there's, so limiting parking to the site rather than on the road, on a town road. That's probably something that the town is interested in. I'm going to keep going forward here. Crystal, when I go forward, is there, are you comfortable with us going forward?
Oh, I think we would make a motion and see if it's seconded, and yeah, I think we should go forward. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I just wanted to know, that if anybody on the board thought that maybe we shouldn't go forward with this, or if we needed more information. But from what I can tell from myself, and I think we have information as far as what we can do, and I think we put the conditions that are necessary to address the issues that we have in the past, and then I think it should be good to go. You know, I think so. When we talk about noise, I think Ann, one of the conditions would be limiting to noise. I think if I'm not mistaken, Tim, I think we've always went with the 70 decibels.
Yeah, if I can remember the one venue that we had by that was near I-94, I think 70 decibels was the figure that we had used.
Yeah.
And then 11 o'clock at night, amplified music done.
Yep. That's what I remember too, was the 70 number. I didn't remember the other ones.
Yeah.
And I think, and like I said, we haven't had any issue with that number. We haven't had any complaints that I'm aware of with what we've done in the past. So that would be the one. I think, and that 70 decibel is always associated with so many feet beyond the building or structure. So I think it's measured.
I think we could say no more than 70 decibels at the closest property line to the source of the music.
Yeah, I don't know how close that is, but
that would be the highway or the town road.
That's what we've done in the past, because that's, you know, you have to be on a different property, not at the wedding, to be a fair complainant.
Yeah, I know. I think we've had it so many feet sometimes, simply because the ones that we've approved didn't have any building right next to them, and I'm not sure that this one does either. I got to pull up my I don't think that there's the nearest
Looking at the
property,
neighbor list, they
The no-
are,
the nearest property is across the road.
most of the properties are quite a ways down.
Yeah, I
Or-
think,
Oh, up, back up, yeah.
Yeah,
I think the nearest property is across the road. And it's not close to the road either.
No, it's
So,
up on the hill.
so I think that would probably be accurate then, 70 decibels at the property line. Is that agreeable?
I'll agree.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll agree.
Then Ann, go to your next one. Did you have something there for parking? We probably, since the town, and that's why we have the town board speak to see with the parking. I don't think we have an issue with the plat on the parking, but we would request that parking be limited to the property.
I see that it's 70 spots with an expectation of up to 300 guests. So I'm not sure if in the past we've asked us a little more coverage with gravel underneath. Tim's point about moving to the right there and down into that farm field, it can get pretty gushy.
That has been an issue. Go ahead.
Yeah, the farm field over there, as you go north, it does get soft. But the south side of that up along the road that stays high and dry. You can't see the elevation on these maps, of course, but there is plenty of parking on the south side of that along the road for any remaining parking needed.
One of the things that we've addressed in the past, Josh, is that the road that's used to get to the parking be somewhat improved, mainly for if it rains a lot or something like, mainly for ambulance access, so the ambulance doesn't get stuck out there. You know what I mean? I mean, we have talked about that in the past.
Yeah.
I certainly can extend that driveway. I can add more gravel. Certainly if that's something that you guys wanted. I had thought about it and I didn't, just because I wanted to kind of leave it as natural as possible.
Yeah.
I'm certainly open to those types of improvements though. And obviously if we're going to host a wedding, I want the property to be appropriate for it. So we'd certainly add that.
Yeah, because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be mud and all this stuff, but sometimes things are different than what you think. So that's what I would say is I'm going to put two things down. Parking. I think the town actually can address this themselves. I think for our purposes, we will say that we'd recommend that the parking, all the parking for the venue be on site rather than on the town road. Would that be appropriate?
I agree.
Yep.
So say that the parking should be on site. And along with that, there be some type of improvement done on the, I'm going to say on the road that goes to the parking lot or past the parking lot. Is that okay? Anybody has a question on it, tell me.
You talking to the east?
Yeah, well, I don't know which way is east. Is right to the east?
Yep. You're looking at that drawing. It's north.
Yep. Yeah, that's to the east, yes. I think it should be, I guess what I'm thinking is that probably if you're going to have, like you said, 300 people, I don't think you're going to get them all in 70 spots.
No.
So you're going to be going to the east for overflow parking, and there should be some type of improved road and not blacktop, but an improved road that hopefully wouldn't be, if everything else is mud, that isn't mud. And actually, the people are gonna want that too, probably, because that's what they'll be walking on, or if you have, on some of your stuff, showing, providing rides or whatever. But it'd be nice I think it'd be good to have that on some type of improved surface.
Mark, I think what you're missing yet is one porta potty per 75 guests, which I think is typical of what we've said for others. And then we have never gone above 225 guests, and we've had other applicants ask for more. So I don't know if we want to hold to our past precedent or not on that one.
I wonder, you probably know better than I, Crystal. I think that part of the reason that we limited the size was because of the fire or some of the safety aspects that came into play. Am I wrong? Do you know?
I don't remember it being about that.
I remember. I remember the discussion being had, but the actual reason for that number escapes me.
Yeah, I think it was something to do with the safety issue. I think it could have been with the traffic. I don't know. But I'm not so sure. Go ahead, Jill.
And the other wedding venues were old barns that weren't, they weren't that big. And it's hard to say, okay, you can only have 225 people. And you can't have more than that. You can have 200, but you can't have 225. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we get so hung up on kind of.
I honestly think that it's been more limited according to some of the safety, the fire.
Right.
Some of the people that deal with the safety issues. I'm not sure that the number of people was ever limited for another reason.
I think that it was fire. They were involved when we were.
Yeah, I know they were. So
are we the ones that decide that, or is that
Is that something you could put in there that is by the fire inspector, the fire marshal?
Well, we can, I think, if that's what the group here, the board decides. You requested 300. 300 is quite a few people.
For me, this just gets back to the whole idea that we don't know what's actually ultimately to be built there. So if plans scale way back and there's a very small barn erected instead for these weddings, then maybe our number's wrong, but we're flying without that information. I think a fire guy is going to say 1,000 people in that big building. So that's not necessarily probably the way we would want to limit it. We'd probably change parking if we knew it was 400 or 500, then we would have different rules for everything else. So
I think the parking also limited it, Crystal.
I think you're right. Yeah,
because if you have 1,000 people there, you're going to be parking. You probably be parking on the road. I mean,
I agree.
It was all site specific on how much capacity was there, and I guess I'm comfortable with going with what he's asked for.
Yeah.
With 300 people. And if but as the conditions say that we'll allow up to 300 people, but I would also put as part of the condition, unless the fire chief or some disagrees
Yeah.
with that and thinks it should be less, or if he says it could be more, I think that
300.
it'd have to come back to Ann at the zoning, and she would have to decide whether that would be appropriate or not. I also think that if you get too large, it doesn't fit with the rural traffic and such things, if you get like something like Country Fest, that's you're dealing with a whole different scale of people and traffic there. And so I think he's requested 300. I don't have a problem with that unless the safety people have. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that sounds good to me, Mark. Give it a top end of 300, and then if the fire people say less, they're the ones that know.
Yep. I'll just put 300 people pending fire department approval. And then we get down, let's see, we address the parking. The sanitation is 1 to 75. I think that's kind of a standard.
Lighting?
We addressed the noise. We've always almost always have had a condition for downward lighting. Almost on anything that we've done, not just something like this, but whether it's a plant or something, anything.
Are we going to require lighting though?
Well, lighting, it can be tied to safety. I think you just say that lighting be I don't think we require lighting, but if there is lighting, it should be, I don't know, we've always just addressed it as being, how did we say it? Pointed downward, or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it didn't light up the whole sky.
Yeah.
Or the neighbors. I think that's a pretty basic thing that, and that's basically what they do now anyway. Most of the lights that you see, that's the way they are. And we probably should address water. I think we have had some situations here. I don't think there's a well on the property. And I don't know what the plan is for that. I think either if there is a well, that it would have to be, it'd have to meet Department of Health standards to be used for drinking water. And what we've done in other cases have simply said bottled water, something brought in. So I guess, Josh, do you have anything to say about water or access?
Yeah, there is a well to the south and west of it on the edge of that parking lot.
Okay.
And, it's just right now, a hydrant there. When we attach it to the building, whatever those requirements are as far as water standards, we'll have to meet those as part of our building inspection, I'm sure, so.
Yeah, you have to meet, if you're gonna have, serve water to public, it's gotta meet the Department of Health, safety. So that would be one condition, that as far as water, it's either bottled water or the well meets Department of Health, criteria.
And Josh, just a sort of word to the wise, you'll want to provide potable water in order for you to find some caterers that would be willing to feed 300 people out there. It's pretty rare.
I'm
Go ahead.
assuming I'll just send my well through some water filtration system. I'll have to put that in and it'll be
Yeah.
good.
Otherwise, let's see. I think that when you get down to actually, we're kind of going through, in some sense, the event plan and the health and food preparation. I think, Crystal, you've dealt with some of that, probably, and that's per your comment.
I think the one that we haven't talked about yet is whether we're going to allow camping. And if I remember right, the last time we went through this whole thing, there was a big ado about whether it's a campground or not.
Yeah, I don't.
So if I could
we
comment on that, I would like to allow overnight stays, but I'm not going to be providing any power or anything like that for campers, campground.
Yeah, and I don't know what, Ann, do you have any thoughts on that? Typically, we haven't allowed overnights.
I'd have to familiarize myself with the camping section of our ordinance, and I'm not even sure.
I'm not sure that you can do that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of feel like we've run into that in the past. I can't remember for sure either.
Mhm.
I think that gets into another a whole nother thing.
Although it's a private event.
And he's not charging for camping. But there was that case, where was it with,
Yeah.
they had several small buildings they wanted to be camping. Just recently.
I think as far as overnight, we'll put the condition any overnight overnight, I don't know if you want to call it camping or overnight stays. Would have to meet the zoning code, and would have, because I don't think, Ann, you know what that is yet.
I'm actually reading it right now, and I mean, this is just a really quick review, but it does seem like, you know, a campground would need to be regulated through the Department of Health. This might just be something we have to get a special exception permit for separately.
Yeah, I don't know that you're gonna want to do that, Josh, because I think it's, you gotta have infrastructure in order to have overnight stays.
Yeah, I don't think this body can allow it automatically.
No, I don't think so either.
Fair enough.
And I think, I know I think the previous wedding venue we approved, said, well, we had a family, that their family would want to stay. Well, we don't deal with the family, you know,
Just public, right?
Yes.
yes. Yep. So I think as part of our minutes, I don't know if it has to be an exception or a condition or whatever, but we can just say that as far as we understand, overnight, it has to, any overnight stays has to meet the zoning code and the state law. Because I'm pretty sure you got to have infrastructure to do that. Whether you charge or not, I don't think it makes any difference, but unless it's family. So anything else that I missed?
People, lighting, noise, water.
No
parking.
alcohol sales.
Yeah, well, that's part, I guess, I don't know if we need to have that as a condition. That's just simply the state law.
Yeah.
or that's the
Also,
part of,
it's also not allowed in Stanton Township. It's a dry township.
Oh, really?
yep. Because see,
Really?
in order to have alcohol, you'd have to get a permit from the town. You'd have to get a license, alcohol license or something like that from the
Picnic
town.
permit.
Yep. Does the town have any comment on what we've discussed as far as going forward? Anything that you think we've missed?
Go ahead, Candy.
Candy Anderson, the town has no problems with anything that's been discussed so far. We do support the recommendation of a condition about the improved surfaces to keep traffic off of parking off town road. That was our big concern. And mud.
Okay. And have we covered it?
All right, I'm just gonna kind of just scroll through this a little bit, just to make sure.
Mark, this is Pete Score. I have a question.
Yes.
What about limiting length of events?
Oh, yep.
My thoughts on that are, and I could be wrong about this because this is my very first one, but the special exception would be for a wedding and or other events. Is that accurate? And
Yes.
as a town board member, we're talking about weddings a lot, but what gets my attention is the and or other events. So if we allow this special exception and they start having other events, we've discussed camping, for instance. Well, if that event lasts multiple days, well, now camping could be an issue. But if an event is only, let's say, 2 days or maybe 3, let's say a 3-day weekend, you're probably only going to be having stuff occurring for 2 nights, perhaps, maybe 3. So I'm just curious, could we limit the length of events? And that might ease the minds of the town board.
I think that that's one thing that we didn't cover were hours when you brought that up. We talked about the music would end at 11. I think he has a thing in here, and we could go with it. Was it 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
8 a.m. to 11?
But it doesn't, it just says no loud music after 11, if I remember.
My point is, so he can keep horses in his building that he builds, so it's agricultural. He moves them out for an event. Well, what happens if this wedding turns out to be a 4 or 5 day event with multiple bands?
Then it's not a wedding.
Well, what culture do you come from?
Yeah, right. Well,
That's my thinking. If the event, and I don't know that this board has ever imposed the length of event, but if we do and say that the event can't last longer than 2 or 3 days, well, I don't see that we have to worry about camping, for instance, things like that. Those are my thoughts.
Typically, the events that we've addressed have only been 1-day events.
so I think in the past, I think in the past we've said, can't get started until after 8 a.m. and no overnight camping, which infers that it is, lasts throughout 1 day and 1 day only. What do you think?
Which doesn't mean they can't come back the next day, but I think that's imposing when we decide, okay, you can be there 1 day. Again, I agree, 5 days would be That'd be a great wedding. Holy man. As long as I didn't pay for it.
Who's writing the check there?
Yeah.
I think it should be limited. I think we normally just spend one day and we put the hours, set the hours. With no overnight stays. I mean, you can't have a 2 or 3 day event without an overnight stay and without the people leaving the premises. Would be the way I would see it, Pete. I don't know.
Generally, when the music stops, the people go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
And it may not be at 11, but by midnight they're gone.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm thinking is we're talking about a 1 day event. That's what we deal with, and with no overnight access. I mean, they could have a 2 day event and they simply go and drive and stay in a hotel and come back the next day, rather than stay on premises for 2 or 3 days.
I don't think so.
Pete, do you want that? Do you want that addressed?
I think he dropped off the call. Maybe he's trying to get back on.
Oh, okay.
But I would like for it to say 8 o'clock start time and no music after 11 and no overnight stays.
Yeah, I don't think that we can't approve an overnight stay. I know we can't.
I understand that. I just want to make it clear that we're saying that helps us to limit it to 1 day or, 2 successive days without in between.
Yeah.
And we've already made kind of that same standard with all of these other ones. 8 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it isn't like we're deviating. We're saying just the same thing that we've offered to other wedding venues or.
Yeah. It's actually what we've done is concurred with what they've asked for, because that's basically what they've asked for.
Right.
And here, just wanting to kind of add something. The permit itself, the application just stated wedding events. I know that later it kind of said and or, but maybe that's something you want to be specific about, wedding events related to wedding events. I mean, that and or could be kind of interpreted differently. Maybe you want to be specific about that.
That was the concern for the town board. I know, because they had approved a wedding event. I do think that Josh has looked into it and he knows that if he's going to have a horse, basically a public horse type of situation, he has to get different permits.
And I think that said, related events, I believe. I mean, I don't know if someone wanted to have a anniversary party here, right? Or graduation, something like that. That's what it's considering related. Maybe it's a divorce party. Weddings or something like that where people get together and celebrate. So, I guess I don't think it leaves it wide open to having a Jimi Hendrix concert over here, but it's talking about, small events where people gather.
Yeah, and I think that's why the number of people has always been limited.
Exactly.
Because it kind of fits more into the rural town setting, and of course that's what General Ag is General Ag is in the rural areas. So we're talking about a 1 day event. There could be something the second day or something, but we're basically addressing 1 day at a time.
Yeah, so I think if I could add clarity on that, I mean, whether it's a 1 day event or 3 separate 1 day event, whatever, the hours of operation are the same. The hours are already in there. 8.
Yep, that's absolutely right. That's what we're addressing, and like I said, with no on-site overnight, they can go and stay in a hotel and come back. I mean, that would be probably more common than at a convention or something, anything like that. So,
And Josh, our exception would be to allow you this as a venue, but you could go through other channels to figure out what permitting is required to also call this place a campground, or I know there'll be another venue for like avenue for you to explore if you want to go that route.
So I think, is Pete back with us or not?
I am.
Okay, yeah, we lost you there for a little bit. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't know what happened.
You're probably off chasing the deer.
Next week, Mark.
Anyway, yeah, we're talking, did you hear our discussion then? We aren't talking a 2 or 3 day event with overnights or whatever. If there's a 2 or 3 day event, the people would leave and come back the second day.
Understand.
So we're addressing hours of operation for each day, any day. But I'm glad you brought that up because that one there I had missed as far as hours. Okay, Ann, what do we got? We got it. We got,
I'm bringing it back down again here.
yep.
Oh. Um,
And I think the other thing that we should add, and we've added in other places, as a condition that all the permits are gotten and provided to the zoning administrator. I don't know where that is, but I know that.
just looking for that.
I think I mentioned it.
I just know
earlier.
from memory that we've usually
Right
got
here.
that.
Consider a condition where the applicant shall acquire / maintain all required permits.
Yep. That's a good sentence. Just hold that up there. So when we make the motion, we can read that.
I would even just take off this outside agencies and just say all required permits.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that means that you need to have a copy of those permits then.
Yep,
They need to be
we could add that on
provided.
there too.
They need to be provided to the zoning office.
Mhm.
And then the only other thing that we don't have is, and I was kind of going down that list a little bit, but as far as the site plan, do you want a copy of, or not the site plan, the event plan? Do you want a copy of something like that provided to your office so you know when the day's right there?
I guess that's a good question.
Typically we've asked for that. I think the previous administrator wanted that simply so if somebody called in, they could look up and see what kind of event it was or what was going on.
Now, is
But,
this something that's per event or once per year that he says like, hey, this is all the contact information? Or
Well, the
what?
contact information doesn't change usually.
So this is something he's submitting each time he has an event?
No, at the
Okay,
beginning of the year.
okay. That makes sense.
I think that's at the beginning of the year, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was like a skeleton plan that is in use for the whole year, and then they would just update you as they get dates. Didn't we say like, 30 days before an event, let us know that it's happening so that we knew what days that they were happening, but that the plan doesn't have to be submitted every time.
Yeah, I think that says that down here, that at least 30 days prior.
Yeah.
There you go, yeah.
And I think that's the only reason that that's there is that if something should come up or something, if we get a complaint or something, you'd be aware of what was there and whether it was a noise. Usually if you get a complaint, it's usually noise. So, but anyway, so that would be part of it too. The temporary use permit, what were you thinking on that? Yeah,
This was something that has been in other staff reports for wedding venues previous.
okay,
I think this was something that Bob kind of was behind. That'd be, again, your call. I think it's very similar to what we just kind of covered, so I'm not sure if we need to double down on that.
yeah, it's kind of a duplicate from what I see.
Yeah.
What do you think, guys?
I agree, it's duplicate.
I do too, Tim.
Okay. I think we've, if the town is there, any other comment from the town of Stanton?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, okay. Josh, do you have any comments?
Well, thank you.
Okay, does someone,
Oh,
is there a motion to approve the special exception request?
I'll move, but I'm gonna need help on conditions. So if the group can help me out, and Ann and the whole crew here.
I was trying to write stuff down. And I was happy when you said you would make the motion.
All
I
right,
can take a stab at it.
Okay,
all right. I'll make a motion to approve the special exception for a wedding venue.
With
In
the follow, oh, go ahead.
in the township of Stanton, right?
Yes,
yep.
With the following conditions. And I'll turn it over
Okay.
to the group.
I'll
So,
read.
oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Crystal.
You got
them?
him, Mark? You go for it.
Yeah, I got them down, but if
Okay,
you
do
want.
it.
The conditions would be, the sound would be limited to 70 decibels at the property line. All parking would be on site, and the driveway to the parking would be an improved drive. Sanitation, one porta potty or one bathroom, I guess, per 75 people. Scale of the event, limited to 300 people, unless the fire department says less. We covered lighting just briefly, not knowing how much lighting would be there, but just lighting would be pointed downward. As far as water, it would have to meet the Department of Public Health for public consumption. And then hours of operation, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 a.m. With music stopping at 11 o'clock. And we do not approve any overnight stay. Did I cover it all? Oh, and then the stuff at the end here, just requiring
Applicant will create and submit an event plan.
Yes,
At the beginning of each year. And update calendar 30 days before any event. And all required permits will be submitted to the zoning administrator.
yep. All the required permits will be obtained, and a copy will be given to the zoning administrator.
I didn't have
I think-
anything else.
I think that's all I have. More than I had.
Okay.
I think
Is
we're
there-
good.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Jill. Noreen? All those, any discussion further? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Well, thank you, guys. Oh, Pete, you got your feet wet today,
yeah,
so, Ann, are we, I guess, are we, where is Krista? We have some